Hey Triskells, it's Brent here with another video for our Time series. In this video, we're going to be exploring skinning our game that we just remixed and added to our class studio. So let's get stuck into it. Cool. What I'd like you to do is log in to your Scratch account if you haven't already and head across to your stuff, which you can do by clicking this folder with the little S symbol here. You'll see your remix game and you can just go ahead and press C inside. It will take you directly to your project. Wonderful, here it is. So in this video, we're going to just be exploring changing the visual elements of our game. We're not going to be scripting anything at the moment. And I really don't want you to be doing that and playing around with it. Maybe you can create a new remix and do that yourself, but for this particular file, you're just going to be changing the visual elements. So if you already know how to do that, that's cool. You can speed this video up. So how do we do that? Well, we go across into our costumes tab and that will give you the different costumes that you have for that particular sprite. So you can go ahead and change our player 1 scoreboard here and you can change the various elements. Now these are vectors and vectors are a little bit different to bitmaps. I hope you may have picked that up from the end of last year when we were exploring vector anyway. So you can go ahead and press the select tool and go ahead and change some colors. If I want to change the color, I can press the paint bucket and I could just mouse over that and paint that black. I might create a gradient and that would change it from white to black. I create a radial gradient here and it would go from there, okay? So you can go ahead and change elements such as the text and these two little dots here. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. You can go ahead and do the same for our start buttons. There's no mouse over one for there. And we've also got this pretty ugly game over symbol that you will see. The main one that maybe you want to explore is our card. Okay, so our card, this is the meat of our game here. And you can see there are heaps of costumes here. All right, so you can see that this card with our question mark is the back of our card. Now, you might want to just draw something different here, change the colors. You might actually want to go on the internet and get a picture of a card and pop it in here. That's up to you. Just the only thing that you need to consider is that the back of your card is the very first costume here, so it's labeled number 1. It's critical, absolutely critical, that you leave all these cards in their current order that they are in, because the game is set up to this order. So if we jumble these around, the game will not be playable at the moment, okay? Now, as I may have already gone over, that this game is a memory game, so you'll see that in the first 7 cards, I've got all these fractions here. So I've got means 1000 over 1, which is just the same thing as 1000. That means 100, that means 10, that means 1, because 1 divided by 1 is just 1. That means a tenth, that means a hundredth, and that means a thousandth. And then the game is just to go ahead and match those fractions to a prefix, okay? So when you've seen something like kilometer, that means that you've got 1000 meters, okay? So 1000, so a kilo actually means 1000 over 1. So you can see that I've got a 2 and I've got a 9 there, so there was 7 between them, so they're actually matched up. So the things that you could do is you could go in and maybe make them the same color if you wanted to. You could make this kilo and let's just do that now. We could make that red and then we could go up to the 1000 and we could actually just make that one, not white, we'd actually want to make that one red there. So if I do that, there we go, perfect. So I can make that one red, then you could go through and make, let's say, that one orange, and you could make the hecto also orange. If you wanted to go ahead and do that, just to make the game a little bit easier or harder, you could do, instead of the text, you could actually do the card themselves. So there's some options that you have to skin your card costume, okay? You can obviously go ahead and add a background element if you think our card game's looking a little bit dire. Purely up to you. You can move these elements around as well. So for instance, you can, if you decide to move the player 1 down here, you'd have to move all the variable elements with it as well, which will be a little bit tricky now that I've I've actually moved it. You might want to create another sprite for our game clock here. So what I haven't gone ahead and done is create these little colons. You could go ahead and do that for, this is the game clock. Look, that's probably it for skinning our card game. Like I mentioned, I don't want you to go in and play around with any of these scripts yet, because that will probably create a little bit of pain for us a little later on. So let's just stick to the visuals for now, and we'll actually get programming our game next cycle. I hope this video was useful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.